Good morning, children. So, we are starting a new chapter, chapter number 10. Okay, motion and measurement of distances. So, this chapter is all about how to measure the distance. Okay, and what are the different types of motions. So, there was a general discussion among the children in Paheli and Bujo's class about the places they had visited during the summer vacations. Some had gone to the native village by train, then a bus, and finally a bullock cart. One student had traveled by an aeroplane. Another spent many days of his holidays going on fishing trips in his uncle's boat. The teacher then asked them to read newspaper articles that mention about small newspaper article that mention about small wheeled vehicles that moved on the soil of Mars and conducted experiments. These vehicles were taken by a spacecraft all the way to Mars. Meanwhile, Paheli had been reading stories about ancient India and wanted to know how people traveled from one place to another in earlier times. So now the story of transport comes, which we all know, children, how the wheel is invented and how there are different modes of transports are here. So we are not going to read this. All right, we'll start directly from how wide is the desk. 10.2. So we'll start because we know what are the early modes of transport. Okay, which are not used today. Can you tell me what are the, is there any early mode of transport that are not used today, that we don't use it now? Yeah, please let me know. Now we'll start 10.2. How wide is this desk? Now children, if you don't have a desk, you don't have no at home. You must be having any table, study table, whatever table you have, that you have to measure. How wide? How did people know how far they have traveled? How will you know whether you can walk all the way to your school or whether you will need to take a bus or a rickshaw to reach your school? Of course, we know if we have to go to our school, we won't take a rickshaw, no? Yeah, we know that it's very very far, so it completely depends on our distance. So when and time, how much time we have. When you need to purchase something, is it possible for you to walk to the market? How will you know the answers to make these questions? How will you know the answers to these questions? So it is often important to know how far a place is, okay? So that we can have an idea how far we are going to reach that place. How we are going to reach that place? Walk, take a bus or a train, a ship, an aeroplane, or even a spacecraft. Sometimes there are objects, okay, whose length or width we need to know. In Paheli and Bujo's classroom, there are large desks which are to be shared by two students. Paheli and Bujo shared one desk but frequently end up objecting that the other is using a large share of the desk. Now also children, you all complain, no, he's taking more desk, he's not letting me sit. So on the teacher's suggestion, they decided to measure the length of the desk. Make a mark exactly in the middle of it and draw a line to separate the two halves of the desk. Both Paheli and Bujo are very fond of playing gilli danda with their friends. Bujo bought a set of gilli and danda with him. Here is how they tried to measure the length of the desk using the danda and the gilli. The desk seems to be having a length equal to 2 danda length and 2 lengths of the gilli. Drawing a line in the middle of the desk leaves each of them happy with a half of the desk equal to danda and gilli in length. 1 danda and 1 gilli in length. After a few days, the mark line gets wiped out. Bujo now has a new set of gilli and danda as he lost his old one. Here is how the length of the desk seems to measure using the gilli and danda. You can see this. What's happening? The size of the danda changed, and hence the size of the danda and gilli is different next time. Then can you measure your desk with the same gilli and danda which you had already measured with some other gilli and danda? No, you cannot do that. So, hello, now when measured with this new set of gilli and danda, the desk length seems to be about 2 danda length and 1 gilli length with a small length still left out. This is less than 1 gilli length. Now what? What would you suggest Paheli and Bujo to do to measure the length of the whole desk? What would you do? Or do you think that this might create the similar problem? No, sorry. Can they use the desk, cricket wicket and bells to measure the length of the length, or do you think this might also create the similar problem? Can they use the wicket? Can they use the wicket and bells? No. One thing that they could do is to take a small length of the string and mark 2 points on it. This will be a string length. They can measure the width of the desk in the string. Okay. How can they use the string to measure distances less than a length of a string? They can hold the string and mark it into 1/2, then 1/4 and 1/8 string length. Now, perhaps Paheli and Bujo can measure the exact length of desk using the string. So children, you can use the string, you can mark it, and then you can simply make it half on one, half and half of the half and half of the 1/4, like that. Bujo has been reading about the ways people use to measure the distances. I know you would say, I skip. You would say that they should use the scale in their geometry box and solve their problems. Yes, of course. Bujo has been reading about the way people used to measure the distances. Okay, so they made it more complicated. They should have used the scale directly. So before such standard scale, when some standard scales were not there, we are talking about that time when there were no scales, children. Okay, so before such standard scales were made, before it is made, he has been trying to follow the different methods of measuring distances. So there are so many occasions when we come across a need to measure lengths and distances. The tailor needs to measure the length of the cloth to know if it is enough to stitch a kurta. A carpenter needs to measure the height and width of a cupboard to know how much would he need to make a door. The farmer needs to know the length and breadth of the area of his land to know how much seed he can sow and how much water would he needed for his crops. Okay, so everyone needs the measurement, and everybody's measurement is different over here, isn't it? Suppose you are asked to you are asked how tall you are. You want to tell the length of a straight line from the top of your head to the heels of your feet. How long is this room? How wide is this desk? How far is it from Delhi to London? Lucknow, sorry. How far away is the moon from the earth? Okay, so all these questions have one thing in common. They are all concerned distance between two places. The two places may be close enough, like the two ends of the table, okay, or they may be far apart, like Jammu and Kanyakumari. Now let us do a few measurements to see what exactly we need to do when we measure distances or lengths. So some measurement will start. So how distance is measured? Distance is measured after knowing only how far apart they are from each other. Okay, so this is the activity, children. So work in group and each of you do this activity. You can't do this, you have to do each one of you individually using your foot as a unit of length. Using a foot as the unit of a length, measure the length and breadth of your classroom. So here you have to measure the length and the breadth of your room. Okay, of any one of the rooms. You have to measure by using you're using your foot, children, right? Now measure the length and the breadth of your room. If it is possible that while measuring these you may find some part remains to be measured as it is smaller than your foot. You just have to keep one foot and then next foot close just next to your last foot. Okay, you don't have to measure by your steps, you have to measure by your foot. So each foot should be kept just close to each other. Okay, so it is possible that some part is left because it is half foot. Okay, the 1/4 foot, how will you measure? So use a string to measure the length of a part of your foot as you did before. Okay, so now use a string to measure the length of a part of your foot as you did before. Record your observation. So whatever is the length of your foot, you take the measurement of the string and then you can do that. So name of the student, length of the class and width of the classroom. So here not the class, here we are doing the room. You do with your foot how much foot it comes, and then you can do it with the string also. Now activity number 2, work in a group. So here you have to do, each one of you have to use the hand span. It's written hand span as a unit or to measure the width of the table or desk or anything in the classroom, in the room if you have a table. Here too, you may find that you need string lengths equal to your hand span and then fractions of the string lengths to make the measurement. Record all observation. Here also, first you have to take the hand span and then take the length. How much string length is your hand span and do with the string length. Okay, you can put mark on both the sides near the toe, both the fingers, like near the thumb and where your little finger reaches, and you can make the distance. Okay, so you will be putting the string right? So where are you gonna put the string? String will be from here to here, and this, and here you have to put dots, and then this is the string length of your palm, and then you can take this forward. Okay, now we see that measurement means comparison. This is a very good definition which you have to always underline. Okay, so what's happening? Measurement means the comparison of a known quantity to the with some known quantity. Okay, measurement means comparison of some unknown quantity with some known quantity. Okay, this is important, and this known quantity is fixed. Okay, so this known fixed quantity is called a unit. This known fixed quantity is called a unit. The result of measurement is expressed. The result of measurement is expressed. This is very important paragraph, children. The result of measurement is expressed in two parts. What are the two parts? This question always comes. How the measurement is expressed. So one part is the number, another part is the unit of measurement. So one part is the measurement, one part is the number, another part is the unit of measurement. For example, if in activity number 1, the length of the room is found to be 12 lengths of your foot, then 12 is the number of the foot length and the unit selected for the measurement will be the foot length. Okay, 12 is the number and foot length is the unit of measurement. Right? Now study. So now study all the measurements recorded in the table 10.1 and 2. Are all the measurements for the room using everybody's foot equal? What do you think? Will they be equal? Are everybody's measurement by hand span or by width of the tables equal? Width of the table equal? Perhaps the results could be different, as the length of your hand span and that of your friends may be different. It may not be the same. Similarly, the length of the foot may be also slightly different for all the students. Therefore, when you tell your measurement using the hand span or foot length as a unit to others, they will not be able to understand how big or the actual length is unless they know the length of your hand span or foot. So we see therefore that some standard units of measurements are needed that do not change from person to person. Okay, so we cannot take those hand span or foot length. Okay, these can be as standard units because they vary from person to person and it won't tell you the actual length of the thing which you are saying, children. So we need to have a standard unit of measurements. Okay. So 10.4 we will start from tomorrow.